I have a lot of wisdom, but it's only in looking back that I reflect and I can see some of the pieces that were fundamental, not only to Dalton's, well-being and success, but all of ours as a family, because autism is really a family disease. It affects all of us, not just the person with autism. So when Dalton was first diagnosed, I remember his physician saying, "You're going to need to measure Dalton's successes not in inches and feet, but in millimeters." And that really struck a chord with me, and I carried that with me. And as a result, we were always celebrating something. We celebrated a lot. We were thankful and appreciative for many, many things. As a result of growing up in an environment where it was challenging for me, I developed skills, resiliency, and determination of my own that I then carried forward when we received the diagnosis. He was about 2, we started noticing that there was something a little different or delayed about Dalton, and took him to several professionals before we were successful at receiving a diagnosis. As a nurse, I knew what was forthcoming. As a mother, it was very difficult for me to put myself in the place where I was about to hear something that I knew was going to change all of our lives. We did receive a diagnosis of autism. I sort of did this fast forward where I looked into the future, and I looked at Dalton in his current state and realized, and I knew enough about it because I'd done some reading, that without anything he would be the same person but in his current body now, and I wasn't good with that. So what I did was just fast forwarded, and a couple of things that I always said. One was that I'm setting him up for success. I'm setting him up to maximize his potential, whatever that may be. I had no idea. I found ABA, and once we began that, Dalton really took off. He flourished. Throughout elementary school, again, there was a lot of challenging times. It wasn't really until maybe grade 6 or 7 where he started to get to a level where he really was sort of clicking. We put him in a lot of activities as a young child to just see what he might like to do, and also to build community around him. So he did Boy Scouts for Beavers when he was very young, and so many of the things we did were in anticipation of later events that he would need to be fairly independent at. So for example, they're always doing cooking and camping really helped him to learn how to travel. He travels with Team Canada now, and he's very good at following the routines and knowing, staying on his own and taking care of his own needs. Another thing we did was in grade 5 we began to teach him how to ski in anticipation of the grade 7 ski trip. And so by grade 7 he was able to fully participate on the ski trip, the school ski trip. So anticipating the future has been a really key piece for us in setting Dalton up for success. When I began to put together the team to support the ABA program, I really looked for what I call heart-centered people. And really what that means is these people have someone's better interest first and foremost. That is why they're there. Remuneration is secondary to them, and it's not always easy. And back in those days, it was even more challenging because none of these people had any training or knowledge about ABA. So it was really about finding the right personality and then teaching them the skills that they needed to help Dalton to be successful. In terms of skill building, we really spent a lot of time through his ABA program on, like, Dalton travels all over the Lower Mainland now on the bus independently. He's got some friends that he's met through Canucks Autism Network, and that was huge. We had him taking the bus with one of his tutors over and over and over. We implemented Plan B. What if the bus is late? What if you know, the bus doesn't show up? What if you miss your stop? All of those things we worked through. It was about anticipating what he needed in, you know, sort of the short term, and building step by step, chaining those steps together once he had them all mastered, and then just putting it together. Dalton is very independent with managing his passion, and I fill in the gaps. So for Dalton, an average day for him, he swims 9 times a week. He has 2 personal training sessions per week, massage once per week, and a number of dry land training sessions. He gets himself up at 5:10. He has a snack. He rides his bike to the pool. In the winter months when he trains in Tawasin, then he wakes me up and I drive him. He trains, he gets home, he eats breakfast, he has a shower, and then he often will go off to school to volunteer at school, and they're very appreciative of his skills at school. He helps in the classroom, he also helps in the cafeteria. Some of the things that I do for Dalton to sort of fill the gap, I spend time working with Dalton from a mental emotional perspective. As a certified life coach and registered nurse, we spend time having conversations, building mental emotional tools to use for him when he's feeling the pressure or feeling stressed. And that's not unlike typical athletes that are at the elite level. They all need these tools. I also work with his local team of people coaches, massage and all the rest, to help them to understand how to set Dalton up for success. So I set up the support team for success, and they set him up for success. I'm also working with the national team as the support lead, to helping create some common language and strategies around how best to set Dalton up at the pool when he's in these high pressure situations. Dalton packs his own bags. He knows, you know, we base it on how many days he's gone, and he figures that out, and he gets stuff into his, you know, he gets his American money at the bank. He's independent with banking. He can cook for himself. He does his own laundry. He's really quite an independent young man. So as much as possible, I am of the philosophy of teach a man to fish versus give the man the fish. And that's resulted in some really significant, you know, gains for Dalton over the years in terms of his independence. I think it's all the years of ABA where it's very tutor-led. He now has an aversion to no and to being told what to do all the time. And you know, I don't really like it either. I'm more a power with versus power over person. So I talk to the team about power with, and for me that means meet Dalton where he's at, understand why he's doing what he's doing, acknowledge that, and through curiosity and questions help him to understand if he's moving toward a particular goal or away from a particular goal. And once he realizes that and he feels agreeable, then he's going to buy the bridge. Until then, all you're doing is spending your time arm wrestling with him. So there's no movement forward in the pool. You're just spending time doing this. one of the things that recently was around dolphin kicks. And those are the little fluttery feet they do after they kick the wall. And 6 is the goal. 3 is what he's been doing. This has been an ongoing struggle for quite some time, and I wasn't aware of it until the coach brought it to my attention. And you know, I really have to give her some props for knowing when something is beyond her tools. And so she came to me, and so we talked about, okay, so he's at 3, he's you know, watching these videos of these swimmers that are faster than him, so let's ask him, have you asked him why? And she said, no, I haven't asked him why. I said, okay, well, let's sit down with Dalton and ask him why. He said, well, so and so from Australia only does 3. And so we helped him to watch some videos of and look at some times of 3 dolphin kicks versus 6 dolphin kicks. And the times clearly were faster for the 6. So I then said to him, so is your goal to be faster or slower? And he said, my goal is to be faster. And so when you see the time for 6, is it faster? Yes. Okay, so by you doing 3, are you moving away from your goal or towards your goal? And moving away from. Okay, so what do you want to do? I want to move toward. Okay, so we then, with his agreement and permission, implemented some timelines where he was going to do 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and 5 to 6. So that plan is underway now, and he's now in the 4 to 5. And by the time he hits Toronto in August, his goal is to be back at 6. It was really, really tough, you know, cutting pictures out of magazines and laminating them with dollar store clear stuff till 3 in the morning for weeks on end, and managing the team and all of that. For me, it was never about giving up, and I think that Dalton sort of adopted some of those characteristics as well. And so it's really my honor to walk with him in this journey, and our whole family, my daughter and husband, are extremely supportive of Dalton, and you know, we've all grown up together, and you know, there's been the typical, you know, feeling isolated for a number of years and all of those things. And so we really are so thankful that we're at where we're at now.